Hi everyone. If you hear a dog, it's Zach. He's down here getting pet. His tail's wagging in the background. Oh, and now Jackson's here. That's just how it is. Dogs everywhere. But what I wanted to say, this is a quick intro to a video all about my superworms, how I keep them, what I feed them, etc. I do not breed superworms simply for the fact that breeding superworms is considered difficult and I don't have the time for that. So this video is just about superworms, but in the future you will see videos about how I take care of and breed my mealworms and dubia roaches, as well as how I take care of some miscellaneous insects I sometimes have, including crickets or waxworms or hornworms. So without further ado, this is a video all about superworms. I hope that you enjoy. So here's my superworms, you guys. This video is all about superworms. I'm gonna make a whole separate video about mealworms and dubia roaches. I've tried multiple times to make my feeder video, like feeder insects, how to care for them, how to breed them, and every single time I've tried to do it, it's just become too much to put in one, so I think I'm gonna break it down by insect. So we're gonna start with superworms. They're my personal favorite. I love feeding them to my leopard geckos, to my bearded dragon, and I'm gonna start offering them to my fire skink once he gets a little bigger. But yeah, we've had a lot of great success with superworms. So to keep this nice and short, basically we have a plastic container that has high sides. There's no holes in it for them to escape. Needs to be plastic because they can climb up cardboard, they can climb up this eggshell, obviously, which is cardboard. There's an example. They can climb up a lot of things. And as you can see, this one's struggling down here. They're like, hey, we can't climb out of here, what's going on? It's because it's the plastic. So I absolutely 100% recommend keeping them in plastic. It doesn't have to be red, it's just what I had laying around. And I offer a nice big space because I've noticed that superworms, not given enough space and food, will cannibalize, and it's really gross, so you don't want that to happen. But I mean, it's impossible to not have it happen. If one of them becomes weak, they'll eat it. That's just kind of how nature is. But what you want is to offer a lot of space and to offer a lot of food. So there's no food in here right now because I just unpacked them, but later on they'll be getting carrots and turnip green stems and all kinds of other good stuff to see what you have downstairs, probably some broccoli. To give you an example of like their life cycle, that's the wing of one right here. That's like what a wing would look like if they became a beetle, and that little white one right there is what it looks like after a molt. I do not let these become beetles, and I do not breed these because breeding these is more difficult than breeding mealworms and dubia roaches, because you have to like single out each worm and like make sure they don't have any access to food or each other, and that's when they turn into beetles. So that just sounds like a lot of work, so I'm not about to do that. I can just order them for cheap. I get them from Great Lakes Hornworms and 500 quantity, and I do this like once every couple of months because this lasts me a while. That's another great thing about superworms actually, is that superworms do not like die very quickly or change like into beetle form, because like I said, you have to have them, you know, on their own. A lot of people use like a pill container and they'll put one superworm in each pill container to turn into a beetle, which is like, oh my god, that's just too much work for me. But that's one great thing about superworms, is that they last so long, so it's great for me because I don't want to have to, you know, buy a bunch and then have half of them die before I can actually feed them off. Like it looks like Benjamin wants one. He's out and about. Benjamin actually hasn't been eating because he is, I don't know, he's being picky. He's one of my enigmas that like eats for half the year really well, and then the other half the year he's on and off. Just like Merlin. That's not a poop, by the way, that's like a piece of wood. But anyways, yeah, so these are the superworms. Every day I feed them fresh carrots, fresh broccoli, turnip greens. I can feed them squash. I feed them all kinds of great healthy vegetables. Hey Jackson. And you can also give them orange peel or like a half of an orange or something like that, and they'll chew on them. I don't recommend offering other types of fruit because honestly, like they just get nasty before they can finish them. So like if we offer like an apple, for example, it just gets really soft and like doesn't get eaten all the way. And it's just not necessary in my opinion, especially since vegetables have more to offer in terms of nutrients. So I offer, like I said, carrots and all the good stuff. That's my dog Jackson. The rat playpen is set up from last night still. Hi buddy. What's that? What's that? Do you hear something? Anyways, back to superworms because I know that's what you guys are interested in. These are actually a really great size in my opinion. A lot of superworms can be really, really big. I don't know if there's any in here that are like, I mean, that one's a pretty big size, but there is still definitely some that are much bigger. But these are all pretty good sizes to me. I could feed these to a lot of my leopard geckos, and some of the smaller ones I can feed to some of my smaller leopard geckos or to my fire skink. Like this one right here, I'm really excited to feed to my fire skink because it's so little. He hasn't had a superworm yet because the only ones I had left when I got him were really big ones for the leopard geckos. So I'm excited to have littler ones like this that I could feed to him. So yeah, I'm excited about that. Look, Liana's like, I see food, feed me please. Not that time, people, not that time. Right, Jackson? It's just not that time of day for a superworm. It's just not. Plus, we have to gut load them first and make sure that they eat all the good foods before that they are fed to the leopard geckos, because gut loading is definitely important and definitely something that you want to do. So I know this video is rather short and it was rather rambly, and there's not much else really to say about superworms. As long as you feed them, you can keep them at room temperature. Don't put them in the fridge. Don't cool them down. It's really bad for them. They will die. Don't heat them up. Just leave them at room temperature in a bucket. I keep some oats down there for burrowing. I keep some of this to help them have some area to climb on. And make sure you give them a large enough space. Make sure you feed them well. And that's it. Once you start giving them the food, you can start feeding them to your leopard geckos. I use tongs to feed them to leopard geckos. And yeah, that's it. They're the easiest insect that I keep. And that's probably one of the reasons why they're my favorite too. Alright, Jackson. Say goodbye to everyone. Wow. How rude are you? Oh, he said, not rude, I'm tired. Oh, and one more thing. What you definitely want to do is remove any uneaten food. So like if food starts to get really hard, if it changes color, if it gets moldy, obviously take that food out because you don't want that to stay in there. Another thing I want to note is that they chew holes through this. Do you see? These ones have already been chewed through because they've been in shipment for a couple days. But the ones that I have thrown away from the other batch of superworms that are now all dead because they've been eaten, there's holes like all over the place. They just chew holes through it. I guess it's like a easier form of travel. They can just, you know, drop through after they chew a hole in it. But yeah, it's definitely something that they do. I don't really know exactly why. Do you know why, Jackson? Fill in the audience. He just wants to keep being pet anyways. And one last thing, let me get up to show you this, is that in order to clean them, well, clean out the container, I use this, which is like a very fine little sieve. It says Jessica on there, so that no one else uses it. And what I do is I take, Jackson, please move your head, thank you. What I do is I take this out, and then if there's any worms like sitting in there, that's okay because they won't fall through here. So I just take this, dump all the oats and all the like uneaten food and poos into this with the superworms that are sometimes in there too. And then I shake it over the trash can like this to get all the nasties out. As you can see, there's all the remnants from the previous superworm thing, and all that little brown stuff is their poos. Nasties, you don't want that. So once that starts accumulating, just to, you know, keep down on the nastiness and the smelliness and whatever, you can use this to clean that and get all the nasties out. And once you have all of the poos shaken out to the trash can, you feel like there's not a lot left, you can dump the oats and the superworms back in here, and you're good to go again for however long it is until you need to clean it. And that's that. I store them on my pet room shelf closet thing. All the bugs are here. There's dubias, there's some crickets, there's some mealworms. That's an old mealworm container where like the babies are still growing up. There's my beetles. There's like some transitioning beetles. Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff going on in here, but those you'll all see in another video. This is just what we're talking about today. So it may be hard to see, but there are some carrots back there, some carrots down here, a carrot and a broccoli up top, and then underneath of this, where most of the superworms are, there's broccoli and carrots also. So they're enjoying themselves right now, starting to chow down, as you can see, enjoy some food. I also just gave the roaches a bunch. There's only a little bit of mealworms in here, so they only got a little bit of that. Everybody got fed. So did the beetles. They're usually fast to jump on the food too. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you found it insightful. I hope you learned a little bit about superworms and at least how I care for them. They're really easy to care for, you know, pretty simple. And the other videos, such as the dubia and the mealworm video, are going to be much more in-depth and involved because I actually breed those. So when those come out, expect those to be a bit longer than this one. But nonetheless, this is all I have to say about superworm. If you liked this video, please go ahead and give it a like and also subscribe. And if you subscribe, please hit the bell because that's Actually, you know what? Apparently the bell isn't even helping people. Half people aren't even getting notified anyway. But in case it's ever fixed, you should definitely hit the bell anyway. And in addition to that, you should leave a comment down below. If you do, I will definitely get back to you. I love replying to comments. And if you have a question, I will always answer a question. So yeah, you can leave that there. And if it's something that you want to send me personally, you don't want to leave it in the comment section, there is an email in the links below this video that you can contact. You can also reach out to me at any of the social media that's provided in the links below. There's also links to Patreon, a donation page, all kinds of stuff. So if you're interested in any of that, just check the links below for it. And I think that's all there is to say about this video. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!